I have previously said this to a man I was dating because I was very intentional about who I committed to. I understand that a man has needs and did not want to deprive him of that while dating if I was not ready. He thought I was testing him, but I was completely serious. Is that something you would allow yourself to experience? Or would you wait and see if it worked with the girl who was waiting? Story 1. I would assume she was being unfaithful and was trying to make herself feel better by giving me permission. I would probably leave her. Story 2. I had this situation happen to me. I didn't bother going elsewhere for sex. I just lived with it. She, however, apparently could not and cheated on me. She got caught. And when I asked her why, she said, "I didn't want you to think I was unfaithful." Yeah, I do not understand. Story 3. This is a trap. So classical a trap, it has been mentioned in quite a few books. The last one I read was Daughter of the Empire, where the protagonist encouraged a suitor to sleep with her maids and then used that as a reason to reject him. Personally, I would take it as a red flag and leave. Story 4. I would feel like any relationship with such a woman was a dead end, and I would move on. Odds are, she would resent you for seeking intimacy elsewhere. She likely would never truly want intimacy with you, and you would feel like you might have a free cheat pass anytime she does not regularly want intimacy. In other words, there is no good that comes out of her proposal. Story 5. I hate the saying, "A man has needs because so do women." The right person will be completely fine with your decision to wait and will wait with you. If not, that is not your person. Story 6. I would read it as she is not ready to date, which is totally fine, but I am not waiting around until she is. I would wish her the best and move on. Story 7. So you would tell a man to be in an open relationship? What do you expect to happen after that? I was very intentional about who I committed to. That is not how you use intentional. If you want to wait, fine, but telling a man to go out with other women is strange. Story 8. That relationship would end immediately because it shows she does not understand me at all. I am also now suspicious of her reasons. I am not in a relationship with her to get involved with other women. I am in it to be with her. If she is not ready for sex, she should tell me directly, and I would respect her decision. Men can abstain, we do not go crazy. Story 9. Funny thing. My ex-girlfriend told me this. I was flabbergasted at the time and assumed she wanted to break up. I didn't understand back then, but apparently, it is acceptable in Japanese culture for a man to see a mistress while he has a girlfriend or wife. Story 10. I think it implies that both of you would have very different sex drives, and that usually does not work out well in the long run. Story 11. I would not like this personally because I am completely monogamous. Dating is for finding a person who values the same things you do while also pushing your boundaries. However, the idea of myself or the girl I am with being intimate with another person while in a relationship is a hard deal breaker for me. Story 12. I would definitely not believe this and would wait until she was ready if things were going well or consider ending the relationship if it had been unstable. This sounds like a loyalty test, and I do not have time for that in my life. Story 13. No, you saying it that vaguely will make me think it is a test, and I will immediately cut you off. I hate tests. Story 14. Last time I was told that it was because she was still longing for someone else and was hoping that would fade. So honestly, I would leave if told that now. Story 15. Everyone is different, but I probably would not date someone else if I am having sex elsewhere. Compatible people will find partners who behave the same way, and I would naturally feel that our preferences do not match and it is not worth pursuing for either of us. Story 16. I would feel like you are not interested in me, so I will move on. How would you feel if a man you liked said that to you? Story 17. That is a serious turn-off and red flag. If a woman I was dating said that to me, I would break up. It is one thing if you say you are not ready for sex. It is another to say you are fine with a man sleeping with a random person. This certainly does not encourage intimacy or trust. Story 18. I would defer to Admiral Akbar. Honestly, I would just end it. If we are not on the same page, this is not going to work. Sooner or later, you will use this against me, so let us not. Story 19. To me, that would mean you are not serious. That is a gigantic red flag. Most guys are going to say, "What the heck?" and then leave. Do not pull this behavior. Seriously. If we are interested in you, we are interested in you. We will wait for the one we want to be with. Story 20. Annoyed for two reasons. The first reason is that you dismiss the fact that sex has an emotional component for men too. I am not in the mood to have sex with someone else when dating you. The second reason is that you take the easy way out instead of honestly talking to me about why you are not ready. Story 21. That is what I am already trying to do. Seriously, you ladies seem to greatly overestimate the ability of an average man to just go and have sex with anyone. Even if he finds somebody, are you sure she would not want a more serious relationship with him? Story 22. If a woman said this to me, I would either think she is saying it because she is doing the same thing or she is not interested in me or looking for commitment. Men have needs, but women have needs too. We all have needs, but that does not mean you should go around sleeping with whoever. Your post makes it seem like you think men cannot control themselves, which may be true for some but not all. You say you are very intentional about who you commit to, but there are men who are like that too. If you keep this perspective, you will only attract men who are not intentional about their commitments. Story 23. It happened to me and I thought, 1. She is sleeping with other men. She just is not that into me. It turned out to be the second option in my case, so I had to walk away because it was never going to turn into anything serious or long-term. Story 24. It is you giving me information that decides there will never be anything serious between us and that I should not waste my time with you. So I would be thankful. Story 25. I would just let you go. I guess it depends on how long it will take you to feel comfortable, but I am not going to wait for months because we would not be compatible in the long run anyway. Also, if I decided to wait, I would likely just be with that other girl. I am not going to share my attention between a couple of girls. Dating is hard enough. Story 26. Even if I was okay with that, I do not have other people I can have sex with. I do not keep a roster or anything. I am monogamous, so I pursue one person only. My now ex-wife at one point told me to just have sex with other people since they did not feel sexual arousal, and I could not justify the idea to myself. It just felt wrong even though I had permission. So I never tried. Story 27. Dating as in boyfriend and girlfriend, or dating as just seeing each other. Either way, I would think you are not too into the bond anyway and might sleep around or try to meet new girls, as it sounds like you are wasting my time or emotionally unavailable. Story 28. A man does not have needs. We will not die just because no one is intimate with us for a while. I would break up with you. Story 29. It says you do not care about this relationship, so I should not either. Side note. I could be misinterpreting things because I am tired, but some of your replies seem really argumentative. What is it that you want? Story 30. I usually prefer to develop a connection before being intimate. I do not sleep with random people just for physical satisfaction. Story 31. My God, girl. That guy is probably in love with you, thinks about you all day, wants you. What do you think he would get out of being with another girl? He would probably gladly wait if he sees you on a realistically clear path to commitment, which you should provide. No willy-nilly, maybe tomorrow, maybe never. You don't have to set a date, just let him know what you are waiting for and if and when progress is happening so he knows you're serious and he isn't just some guy on the back burner. You didn't betray him by saying that, but you sure displayed a massive and potentially catastrophic misunderstanding of that guy's love for you. He will probably ask himself whether you think him being with anyone else would be a good idea because you wouldn't care about who you're with while you're supposedly in love with him, or if you think so lowly of him and his commitment that he would do it, which you apparently do. I would seriously reconsider committing to you if I knew my commitment would be basically worthless to you as you expect me to just go around and be with anybody once the need arises. That I am considered fickle and likely to drift away on a whim. It is probably in the best interest of any man not to, as your very dim and frankly insulting way of thinking about him and his feelings toward you stands in direct opposition to a loving and above all trusting relationship. You apparently don't trust his love or have a very low view of what it is, probably leading to an endless string of insecurity-fueled jealousy and drama he can do nothing about because you inherently see him as some kind of villain. You need to learn a lot before you are ready for a real relationship, and sex seems to be the least of your problems. Story 32. If we are not exclusive, we are not dating. If my girlfriend told me to have sex with other people, she would not be my girlfriend. It would not even be breaking up at that point. We just were not dating to begin with. Story 33. I would run. If you are that flippant about sex or commitment, then there is no chance of a sustained long-term relationship. No matter how progressive you are, statistically, it is doomed. Story 34. That would be a no. Or it would mean that we both decided and communicated that we were not exclusive, in which case I would not consider that being in a relationship yet or ever. Now, men have needs, but we are not animals. We are also capable of controlling ourselves. If a man told you otherwise, he is lying. Story 35. In that scenario, the fact that you would propose that indicates to me that you felt so little connection with me that it didn't generate any emotion imagining me with another woman. I would be incredibly hurt and insulted and cease contact. Do you have empathy or any semblance of emotional awareness to understand why this could be considered an awful thing to suggest? Unless it has been stated before or early on in the first date that you are just looking for a friendship with potential for more down the road, I think that would be fine. I wouldn't consider us dating, though, and I would still leave simply because I don't want to invest any of my heart into a maybe one day, if there is attraction. But in the scenario where we have been dating for a while, getting along well or increasing intimacy with a kiss, snuggling, hand-holding, and so on, it would be a real kick in the gut. Waiting to have sex would be fine and even endearing in many ways compared to finding out she did not care if I was with other people. Story 36. All that tells me is that the relationship is not serious to her and that she does not really care either way. If nothing else, she becomes a much lower priority in my life for that alone. Story 37. If we were exclusive, I would be a little hurt. That is because she thinks I would not wait until she is ready. Even if she gave me her blessing to be with whoever I want, it feels like cheating to me, and I could not do that to her. Story 38. I am surprised I am not seeing more comments like this. But why would you want to be in a relationship with someone who does not share your values? Story 39. While I do not like jealousy or insecurity, I want someone monogamous who likes me, and the thought of me being with someone else would not sit right with her. Telling me to go nuts until she is ready would indicate either non-monogamy or a lack of genuine interest, or both. Generally, nobody is that selfless without ulterior motives. Additionally, it demonstrates a lack of self-interest. First, I could fall for the other person, and if she is willing to take that risk, it shows a lack of interest. Alternatively, she may think so highly of herself that she believes nobody could win out against her, even if that woman is sleeping with me and she is not, which reveals an inflated ego. Second, there is the risk of sexually transmitted diseases, and by accepting that risk, she is demonstrating low self-esteem. If she is willing to risk that and still be with me afterward, it suggests desperation. Story 40. From my perspective, it sounds like she is having or still having sex with someone else, so she doesn't care if I am also having sex with other people. Even if she was abstaining from sex altogether, it would still trigger a sense of doubt in my mind. It is a turn-off for me and a deal breaker. If she is not ready, I do not mind waiting. It is not like I have a line of women waiting to get into my bed or to get me into theirs. I am a one woman at a time kind of man, so for her to say, go have sex with whoever, sounds like she does not trust me and is warning me ahead of time that she is still involved with someone else. Therefore, she is not worth pursuing at this time. My logic may not match what others think or believe, but that has been my experience so far. If he is not willing to wait, then he is not for you. If you are willing to let him have sex with other people before the relationship, there is a chance that he will want to have sex with other people during the relationship. Or worse, he temporarily breaks up with you to hook up with someone else and avoids the accountability of infidelity because you were on a break. I know that is not how it is in every case, but I believe it opens the door for a manipulative person to cheat and get away with it on a technicality. If you are faithful to someone, then you will not mind waiting. If you do not think they can wait, then it is not a good time or fit for either of you. Story 41. I think it is weird, honestly. I would absolutely think it is a test, and personally, I have no interest in dating someone and having sex with someone else, so it is irrelevant for me anyway. Plus, for many, it is not that easy to just go and have sex with whoever on a whim. I would probably think she was already doing that or was not that interested in me. Story 42. I don't mind waiting for a woman to be ready as long as she is not involved with other people while I am waiting. B. When she is ready, she is very sexually adventurous. Really, B applies to any woman, whether she wants to wait or not. Sex is important to me. Story 43. That's the sort of confusing nonsense that guys complain about. Like, I don't want to have sex with someone else. If I did, I wouldn't be in this relationship. Have some self-respect. If you're not ready, that's fine. I guess I'm just getting old. Story 44. I am a 25-year-old virgin. Men will not collapse without sex. If it were me, I would abstain until I am ready. I would definitely think it was some sort of game, test, or trap if you wanted me to sleep with different women. Story 45. Move on, boys. Not a judgment on the original poster, but based on personal and close experience, it can potentially be one of two things. 1. It might start out altruistic, but it ends up as a loyalty test. She is just not that into him but likes to keep him around. Story 46. No thanks, you are still connected to your ex and just want to be able to continue to see if it can be worked out. That is how my brain would view it. Story 47. No one would take you seriously no matter how much you insist. Be an adult and say you are not ready or move on. You are just being complicated for no reason. Story 48. Yeah, I would end the relationship. I don't mind waiting for a while, but if she thinks she can keep me waiting so long that I need to look elsewhere, I'd rather not bother at all. Also, I'm in a relationship because I don't want meaningless sex. What you're describing sounds like the worst of both worlds. Finally, there is no way I would trust someone to be completely sincere about something like that. If she is sincere, then she and I have very different views on infidelity. Story 49. I imagine she does not want me or is seeing another man. I would rather she tell me she wants some extra time or dates before wanting sex with me, rather than telling me to spend time with another girl, which I know I would not do because I do not want to. If I find another girl, I would rather date or make something serious with her instead. Story 50. Honestly, I would have no interest in continuing that relationship. I would rather wait until the other person feels ready than be half committed to the relationship. I would also feel that a person who tells me that is not fully committed either. So it just seems like a waste of time for both. Story 51. If a girl said that to me, I would leave quicker than you can finish the sentence. That statement only means one thing. She is or is going to be unfaithful. Story 52. I would take it as a test and leave because that is a foolish and immature game. If a girl did that to me at the beginning of the relationship would not be worth continuing. Story 53. I may be wrong about you, but the kind of person you would probably want to commit to is likely the type that will have a problem with this. There are usually two types of people: those who do not put any feelings into sex and those who do. There are not many who turn on a switch when convenient. So, many men will not have a problem with this, but you will find them to be the type who are not emotionally available whenever you take them up on it. Story 54. I previously said this to a man I was dating because I was very intentional about who I committed to. Were you committed to the man you told, or to someone else? As the current top comment says, I would just date someone else. I think what you want is a friend instead of a spouse. Story 55. I would start to look for a different person to spend my life with. You have already made two strong objections to that suggestion. First, you are not ready to be intimate with someone you care about due to trauma response. Second, you want me to go out searching for someone else while trying to date you. Even if I take your words at face value, I understand that you are using relational crutches to try to stay safe. This signals that you will be using more or different crutches if the relationship progresses. Maybe someone else can take that role. That is not a role I want to take on. Story 56. This sounds like a trap. If I went for it, I would definitely expect it to come up later in the relationship when she was upset about something else. Story 57. Say it's a trap all you want, but it's a trap. You might be serious about it, but I promise you'll feel differently if you find out he actually did it. Look, if I'm single, I'm not out having casual sex. Sex is hard to get outside of a relationship for most straight men. If you're telling me you're not ready and that I can have sex with other women, I'm not coming back. Story 58. No one actually interested in me has ever said, go do it with someone else. In fact, every time there is a strongly stated desire to have me to herself. So if someone said this to me, I am pretty sure I would think she is not that into me. That is different from someone wanting to take it slow, however. Honestly, given the context of your question, while it is nice of you, I suppose, to think this way, I hope you never feel pressured to progress faster than you are comfortable. Story 59. Some people might think that you are being self-deprecating by essentially saying, I know I am not enough for you, but you should be happy and go be with someone else because you need intimacy. Others might interpret this as seeing them as sex-obsessed or just a horny person. They may wonder, why can't he wait for you? Why can't he be okay without intimacy? Why does he want more than you can give? These are assumptions, and you should talk to them about their needs first before deciding to open the relationship. Otherwise, they may feel unheard, unseen, and pushed into a corner of patriarchal stereotypes. Story 60. I would take that as you were not interested in me at all. I may be inexperienced when it comes to women, though. I believe my wife thinks so. Story 61. I would not have become exclusive with someone I had not already been intimate with at least a handful of times, but I also do not think I would want to have casual partners while I waited for one particular girl to be ready. It would make me think we value sex very differently to begin with, which may be an issue. Story 62. I understand a man has needs and did not want to deprive him of that. As a woman, I am appalled that you are perpetuating this stereotype about men. They are not some sort of animal that cannot control itself, and having urges and needs does not make them a completely separate species from us. I do not think you are ready to be with a man if you believe something so painfully damaging to a man is true, as you do not see him as a person at all. Story 63. I would seriously consider whether I want to continue pursuing her or cut my losses. I would not take it seriously in the way you meant, but in terms of whether I want to be with someone who says something like that. Story 64. If I were told this, I would assume the worst, that she is still having sex with other men and would use this as a way to flip it on you. If you were to find out, she would say you were doing the same thing. I am out. As for the alternative, a man has desires and needs, yes, but it does not affect our survival. I lost my virginity as a teenager and have not been sexually active since. I am 27. I would be very upset if a woman I am interested in told me this. However, I am the kind of person who thinks that level of intimacy is sacred. Different people may have no issues with this. Story 65. Yes, I would just send you on your way and find a woman who wants to have a mature relationship with me. Story 66. She is not that into me. She foresees that sex will take even more waiting than has already elapsed. She is possibly still involved with someone else, and I should seriously consider moving on. Story 67. I would be very confused. I do not want to put a girl I am dating in that situation. I agree intimacy is very important, and you can have your own view as well. I would not feel comfortable doing this. I am also 99.5% sure I would not wait around either. This definitely sounds like a game, even if you do not mean it to be. Story 68. I would rather wait until I am ready than sleep with a stranger. If she has that lack of self-esteem, it is a red flag. Story 69. I would say no, it's you whenever you are ready. Of course, I do not wait like a year, but I will never force myself to. Story 70. How much time are we talking about from the initial meeting to being ready to have sex? I can understand not wanting to rush into things, but if a girl delays intimacy for too long, I assume that she is probably not all that interested in me. Even if she were, the chances that we would be sexually compatible are fairly low. Story 71. We would not be dating because it sounds like she is not serious about the relationship at all. Story 72. I do not think that is a good move by you unless you are not interested at all. I am confident this will indicate to men that you are not interested and they should move on. Story 73. I had a similar situation in my youth. I took the offer. It was a trap. I will give her the benefit of the doubt. I do not think she had any malice initially, But when she found out that I went ahead with it, she tore me apart. There was another situation that was a bit different and a lot better, but that was a rare event. Story 74. It feels strange. I have been told that once recently, and I did not like it. I want to be with the woman I am with, but it also felt like a trap. Lastly, it felt like I was being told what to do. In the end, we had an amazing sexual relationship. She is my wife. Story 75. I would see that as a clear statement that you were not interested in me and that I should move on. I would put you on the back burner. I would let you suggest and make plans, if any, and would only say yes if I had not already made plans with someone else. When you were ready, then we would take it forward from there. Story 76. It would feel like a pointless commitment test, or it would feel like you are not interested. I would prefer you to be honest and say you are not ready yet. As long as you think we are moving in the right direction, I would rather wait than go elsewhere. The idea that men have specific needs is nonsense. Story 77. Most guys are just going to read this as, go ahead and have sex with whoever you want, because I am not interested and I am not going to do it. So yes, I would indulge in that, then leave and start dating someone else. Story 78. Original poster. Any man who accepts that offer is not someone you should stay in a relationship with. It is perfectly fine for you to deny a man sex if you are not ready, and you do not need to offer an alternative. Story 79. It would feel very strange, and I would think it was some sort of test, and I would probably kindly and politely let you go. Story 80. I would kindly take it as you are not very interested and that I should look elsewhere for a relationship, depending on how you phrase it. But more likely, I would take it as letting me down gently. Story 81. No girl would say that to a guy she cares about. This is one of the most foolish things I have ever heard on Reddit, and that is a high distinction. Story 82. That's not how bonding works. If I am getting my oxytocin from them, then I am bonding with them, not you. Story 83. I would be very suspicious about that and probably would not have the opportunity to do that like a woman would. I would probably put you in the first place on the dump chute slide. If I am not wanted, I am not going to be the person waiting for you. It is not like it is a buffet for most of us. Story 84. As a man, we do have needs. Sex is not one of them. Sex is a want. Men can survive without sex. Needs are things you have to have. You can get by without sex just fine. Any human can, including men. If he cannot control himself until you are ready, that is on him and no one else. That said, I would definitely think this was a trap. There is no way I would believe this is a legitimate offer and not a trap. Even if it was not a trap, I probably still would not agree with it, but you would never be able to convince me it was not a trap. Story 85. If you told me that while we were dating, I would pursue someone else instead. You were already telling me to go find someone else. Why wouldn't I put all my time into keeping them around instead? Story 86. As someone who is waiting for marriage and has made that clear, it would be a massive red flag. It would mean she did not believe me, thought I was lying about my values, and was just using them to trap her. It would be the end of the relationship. Story 87. I would feel like she is not very interested and is just staying around until someone better comes along. I would also think she is doing the same, and that feels like a terrible way to start a relationship. Yes, I have urges, but I can satisfy those on my own. I do not need to sleep with many other women while I am in the early stages of a relationship. That is cheating. I am here to commit to my partner, so I am happy to wait for her to be ready. Story 88. If that is all the information I could get without feeling like I am asking too much, I would assume it is either some kind of test or, in one of many other ways, a red flag, such as an indication of severe trauma or something similar. I am sorry, but unless I was completely smitten with you, which is unlikely since that takes a while for me, I would move on. Story 89. I was in this situation. She told me to do it and convinced me she wanted me to. So I did. I felt terrible and did not have fun. Felt wrong. I said I was never doing that again. Story 90. There is so much wrong with it, I do not even know where to start. I would be okay waiting for a while, but the only reason to make this offer is if it is going to be a very long wait. I would presume there is a good chance she will never want sex, not just with me but with anyone. There is still a chance the girl is testing you even if she does not know that is what she is doing herself. Even if that is not what you are doing, for other girls sometimes it is. For many people, sex is not some detached act where you do not feel anything for the other person. There is a very good chance if he goes and sleeps with another girl, he will start feeling romantic feelings for her and lose interest in you. It is very dismissive of other people's feelings overall. Not just the man, but the other woman you want him to have sex with, and then presumably dump when or if you are ready. So my reaction would be this person does not seem to know how humans work. It is just a really insulting offer. Story 91. The relationship would be over. That is strange and illogical. Why would you subcontract the intimacy portion of your relationship? Story 92. Personally, I hate the idea. If I seriously like a woman, then why would I want to sleep with other women? If she wanted to wait to have sex for a bit, I would probably stick it out if I was serious about her. But if it was a very long time, then that type of relationship is not for me. Physical intimacy is an incredibly important part of a relationship. Story 93. Men have certain needs. What? Women have just as many needs as men do. If it were me, I would be very confused and wondering what is going on. I would want to understand your reasons for not wanting to have sex and learn how you view sex in general. Is this a no sex before marriage situation? What does committed mean? Sexual compatibility is a big part of any relationship at any stage of commitment, so I would be wondering if we were lacking one of the key areas of compatibility on my end. The stereotype of men playing the field is massively misrepresented in my experience, and I have had a lot of it. I have seen women play the field more than men in general because they have more options. When, as a man, I am dating someone that is more than one or two meetups and implies a certain level of exclusivity. I certainly would not be seeing anyone else if it had been 5 or more dates or a time span of a couple of months. I would probably feel slighted a bit or unworthy, or like you thought you were too good for me and were waiting to see if I was good enough for you. Honestly, I would start to wonder if maybe you had a bit of a high opinion of yourself. Story 94. It's a trap. Even if it is intended in good faith, it is not a healthy foundation for a relationship for most people. 5 years from now, there is a good chance there will be some resentment. Not everyone is like that. But a man's needs really are not needs. That is either just an excuse by people driven by desire or a statement from a person with a sex addiction who needs it, like how alcoholics need drinks. Story 95. Don't be surprised if he decides to stay with whoever he finds. In a situation like that, I would just assume you're not interested in me and that I may be wasting my time. Or you might be doing the same, which to me is a done deal. I don't like to compete. Story 96. I've dated women like this. It got complicated. I was fine taking them out and having a good time. I just wanted them to enjoy themselves. If they didn't want to bring me home to be physical, that was okay. There were issues when I became more attached to a woman who did want to have sex with me. That usually led to the women who weren't interested in being physical leaving my life. Story 97. If I were him after hearing this, I would have assumed that you were secretly seeing someone on the side. Knowing myself, if I were in his position, I would have called off the relationship. I already have trust issues, and I would not want to go through another relationship where my partner was secretly having an affair. That being said, everyone is different. I honestly do not know how he would react. Story 98. I would take it as an insult, most likely. It sounds like she is saying that men are just slobbering, knuckle-dragging, walking hard-ons. If I were that horny, I would take care of it and be done with it. Story 99. It sounds to me like the girl still has a side partner and has not ended that relationship yet. So she is not ready for a new relationship. She wants her cake and to eat it too. She wants the attention of the new partner and the intimacy from the previous one. As for me, I would say, later, lady. Story 100. For me personally, that will make me take her less seriously and indulge in other women. We can continue to date, but knowing myself, I will prioritize the woman who is more sexually attentive. Not gonna lie, it sounds like you did not really like him that much. Story 101. Please stop believing in and spreading the idea that men have needs. It is not true. Most men do not even believe this. We have just as much self-control as women. It is our choice whether or not to exercise it. Story 102. She is not interested and is likely doing the same as well. No girl who is interested in you will tell you to go have sex and bond with another girl. Come on. Story 103. The right person will wait for you. Men's needs for sex are not different from women's. If they really need to satisfy themselves, they can do it alone or find a relationship with a compatible partner. Story 104. I would personally wait and see. Sex with someone you have a connection with is much better than sex with a random person. I would make sure she is serious, and if I were to do it, I would insist that she be in the room. Otherwise, if that was not something she was comfortable with, I would not do it no matter how okay she was with me doing it without her. Sexual intimacy is an important part of a relationship. If you are not ready long enough, there will come a time when you have to let him go and move on. Story 105. I do not have sex on dates. That is kind of a couple's activity if we are close like that. Also, I would not be dating if I were intimate with someone. Story 106. I would just move along. If you say this to me, it seems like you either have simplistic views of men or you will not want to have sex with me for a long time, 1 month or more. That just does not work for me in a relationship. Story 107. I would assume she is very insecure. Obviously, I would try to have a discussion to understand what is making her feel this way in the first place. If we cannot reach some sort of compromise, then I would reconsider the relationship. Story 108. I would be quite skeptical at first and would probably have some follow-up questions. Not because I was not interested in the idea, but because it would feel like a trap or a test. That being said, if it turns out it is authentic, it is an arrangement I would be okay with for the right person. Story 109. It sounds too good to be true on paper, but if you are in a serious relationship, why would you put it at risk? Story 110. When you are dating, especially if it is new, and she tells you this, most men think it is a test of their commitment. Most men do not understand a woman who would allow that because if you are a real man, you were raised with morals and values. Story 111. This sounds like autistic communication if you ask me. It's a conclusion or understanding that some or many reach, but no one is verbally so direct and honest about it with whoever they are dating. As an autistic man myself, I can read the intent because I infer the type of mindset. Some allistic people might be okay as well, but I wouldn't trust it. The thing you're being overly transparent with and maybe a bit insensitive about is the clear conclusion the other person will reach, which is correctly that you are not into them at that point. This can be a problem for some and is generally not a message you need to be direct or clear about unless you're having the conversation about how you'd like them to show or be someone you may be attracted to. If you say this beyond early dates, it will probably end things. If we're that far along and you're still not interested in sex, and we're not otherwise progressing the relationship in some other meaningful and intentional way, I wouldn't continue going on dates just to find out if it will ever change. My recommendation is to keep this conclusion and understanding to yourself. There's no need to share it. You don't need to give them permission, nor do they need to give you permission. Until you're exclusive, assume the other person is dating and maybe having sex with someone else. It's not just men who might date and have sex with more than one woman. Women might do that as well. Reasonable men will do what they need to do, and further, good men will be honest at the point when you want to know if you want to be exclusive. Story 112. I would think she is not that interested in me and would be disappointed. If I were interested in her, I would wait to see how things turn out. The girl needs to know when she will be ready. If she wants to wait until marriage for sex, she should be upfront about it. She should communicate clearly how far she is willing to be comfortable, and the guy should respect those boundaries. Story 113. Wow. So many amazing men here. I opened this thread expecting men to say, wow, this is the kind of woman we want. Impressed. Anyway, I said this to my partner after I found out he was cheating on me with multiple women, because this way I could pretend that it wasn't cheating since I was allowing it. This happened 3 years ago, and we are still together. No points for guessing. I am a woman with zero self-respect or self-love. So yeah, I deserved it, I guess. My point is, don't do this. I pray for every woman to never end up like me. You are amazing, And the right man will be patient with you because he wants you and only you. Story 114. Sorry, but a man does not have needs. Nobody truly needs sex. I am so tired of seeing that idea thrown around. Story 115. If a woman of average attractiveness walks into a bar and asks 10 random single men if they want to have sex, I bet most of them would say yes. Repeat the same experiment with a man of average attractiveness asking 10 single women, and you will see it is not balanced. The man might even go to jail. Story 116. I would either think you are not serious about being with me or that you are controlling. Who are you to tell me who I can or cannot have sex with if we are not exclusive? Story 117. I don't believe in the wait until I'm ready or marriage nonsense. If you don't want to try intimacy with your boyfriend after a few dates or a short time, I'm talking 3 to 5 dates or 3 to 5 weeks, then I wouldn't hold myself back waiting for you. Physical intimacy is important in a relationship. You do deserve special mention for being upfront and telling him he can play with others, but it is not sustainable. Story 118. I would feel like I had won the lottery, been elected president, and had Japanese engineers build me a Gundam. Story 119. Just getting involved and wanting a real relationship too? Get involved. Nobody cares about setting some strange expectations that he wants it too. People care. Be better. Story 120. You did not put him to a test with your offer to let him be free to choose to sleep around if he felt like it while you got to know each other. However, unintentionally, you got a result from that. He is not someone who will trust your word. Proceed accordingly. Story 121. I said the same to this girl I liked. Specifically, since I think intercourse is unpleasant and have little to no desire to participate for my own benefit. Understandably, it led some girls who asked if I wanted to date to change their minds after I said I wasn't into that. In theory, I wouldn't mind using devices or my hands instead of full intercourse, but if it progressed that far, it would be because she wanted to, not because it was my suggestion. I would much rather snuggle, kiss, and do things like that. So if a girl said I could have sex with whoever, I would mostly appreciate the gesture or assume she wants the same freedom herself and is setting the standard as mutual. As long as there's good communication, I'm good. Story 122. Depends on the situation. Usually, when I meet a girl, I would take action so the past will be in the past and then wait. However, I would imagine myself in her situation, how I would feel, and often trick myself into not doing it because I would feel guilty, especially if she is a girl I want to take seriously in the beginning. Story 123. Were you teenagers? Was it that you were a virgin and not ready in general, or you just were not ready with him? Story 124. I would assume it is some test to assess my loyalty. Now, it would be easy for me to put myself back out there and be intimate with someone else. However, that does not fix my issue, which is the lack of intimacy with you. That is more important to me than needing to be with someone else. Story 125. I do not know how anyone could figure out that it is not a test. Even you saying it is not a test directly is too far-fetched to believe. On top of that, men connect strongly with physical intimacy. You are the number one person we want to connect with in that way since we are in a relationship with you. You are calling it a man's needs, but you should be more specific and call it a man's needs in a relationship. We need it from you. Story 126. I'm going to say the opposite to everyone here. You sound mature, open, and confident about your needs. You're offering a guy a non-exclusive, that is, open relationship. It's generous. My approach to couples is we do we. Whatever social conventions or other people say, what matters is only us, how we communicate, and our agreements with each other. Whatever you decide to do in your couple is none of anyone else's business. Everyone will have their opinions, some of which will be based on how they have been treated before, perhaps on their own emotional traumas and issues in their own lives. I think rather than offering this point blank, I would first make sure you guys openly talk about what intimacy means to each of you, how it is expressed, and how it is wanted. The fact that you are aware of your own needs and are aware that not everything has to come from one person tells me you have a level of emotional and social maturity that many here do not. You are simply open to an open relationship. I'm sorry for the abuse you are getting in this thread though. Story 127. Pragmatic, emotionally mature woman who understands how the world and relationships work. Nothing but respect for this. I would take you at your word and indulge while remaining serious about spending time with you. I would not actively pursue others, but I would not say no either. Story 128. I guess maybe you cannot understand a woman waiting to have sex in general with anyone, no matter what. I asked the question I wanted and got the answers I was looking for. The consensus is that it is a wild thing to ask and that the man will think I am not actually into him. I am not offended by what anyone says. It is all good. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.